Cuckoo tells the story of Gretchen, a 17-year-old girl who reluctantly moves to the German Alps with her father and her new family, where she is plagued by bizarre noises and visions of a strange woman pursuing her. Cuckoo was directed by Tillman Singer, and it stars Hunter Schafer, Dan Stevens, Jan Bluthart, Martin Sokas, and Jessica Henwick. Now, Cuckoo was actually released in most other parts of the world back in August, almost 6 months ago now, and there was never any talk of an Australia release date. But it just got made available on digital in Australia a couple of days ago, and as soon as I saw it, I rented it immediately because this is a film that I've been hanging out for. I've heard nothing but awesome things about it. I just heard that it was really, really weird and really memorable. And yeah, the movie's called Cuckoo, and that might just be the most apt title for any movie I've ever seen. Oh my god, this thing is fucking cuckoo. And the first thing that stood out to me about this film is the performances of both Hunter Schafer and Dan Stevens. Hunter Schafer does a really, really good job here. She has a bit of a tough role to play. She plays one of those characters where you can really empathize with her and feel bad for a situation because she's in a pretty rough spot in her life. But you also don't really like her that much. She's a bit of a rebel and a bit of a, fuck everyone in the world personality, and it makes it a bit hard to get endeared to her character. But she plays it so well that it doesn't seem like she's just obnoxious for the sake of being obnoxious. She really does seem like someone who has a good heart, but because of her surroundings, she's kind of turned to be a bit of a bad girl, which I like. I found her character to be quite endearing, especially as the film went on. You really start to kind of like her more and understand her. So she has a lot on her plate and she balances it well. She also has to look very, very scared and act very intensely at times, which she absolutely knocks out of the park. She was terrific. Dan Stevens was awesome here, playing this man who you just know from the second you see him is an evil motherfucker. It's not trying to be hidden at all. There's never any ambiguity on whether he's actually good or bad. It's just straight up, he's a mustache twirling piece of shit. And he has a lot of fun in the role. He really is both quite sinister and scary, but also very funny at the same time. It's a really awesome role. It's the kind of villain that I love. Just really over the top and silly, which fits the movie that he's in. And he just seems like he's having a blast here, and I thought he was terrific. Tillman Singer shows some real talent as a director. Some of the camera work and the edits that you have here are so bizarre that they really do a good job at making you as the audience member feel completely disorientated. Like there's really weird shit, like I don't even know what to call it, but like the kind of edge of the frame kind of, kind of moves around a little bit almost. It's just really disorientating, and some of the cuts don't make sense, but then you kind of realize that's why it doesn't make sense, because you're just getting in this complete headspace. It's hard to explain without having seen the movie, and I don't want to give anything away, but Tillman Singer does so much to create such a disorientating feeling, and he does it really well for the most part. And this film has its fair share of good scares as well. There's some scenes through the use of shadows, one in particular kind of towards the start of the film with a shadow and a road light that is really, really intense. In particular, that was probably the best part of the film. And there's just some other scares in the film which are more unconventional, and kind of you expect them to play out one way and then you kind of think you know what you're in for, but then it just doesn't. And that's what makes it scary, is because it kind of eases you in with this mindset of like, oh, I've seen this kind of scare set up before. Oh, fuck, didn't expect that to happen. And lastly, I love a film that is not scared to just say, fuck it, and go balls to the walls. Cuckoo, as I mentioned earlier, is absolutely batshit insane. Like, it is so weird. I can't even describe this film. If I was told I had to sum up the plot of this film to someone who has never seen it before, I wouldn't be able to do it. I would sound like a rambling lunatic. It is just that strange. Never seen anything like it, and I'll never see anything like it ever again. And I have to respect that. And now moving on to the negatives, and I don't really know how to say this other than just, what in the actual fuck was this movie? What was going on? What the hell happened? Like, past the first act of this film, I was just so lost. It's the kind of film that is so weird and ridiculous that there were some points when something so ridiculous and stupid would happen that I actually had to rewind I was like, surely I didn't hear them right. Surely that didn't actually happen. And I'd rewind, and that is exactly what happened. That's exactly what they said is happening. And I'm like, what the fuck? And that had happened, and then I'd go along with it, trying to just go with it, and then something even weirder would happen, and I'd be like, did I just see that right? And sure enough, I'd rewind. Yes, I did. I don't like to stop and rewind in films, but this is the kind of film that I couldn't grasp what was going on. I was just so baffled and bewildered, and to an extent, I like that. But it's not the kind of film for me that interested me enough. Like, during the third act, once the credits rolled, it wasn't the kind of thing where I'm like, Jesus, I really want to go and research that and understand it all. I was just kind of left just scratching my head like, okay. And yeah, by the time it came around to the third act, it just completely lost me. Maybe sometime a few years down the track, I might rewatch this and see if it clicks with me, but on this first viewing, and the only viewing that I'm interested in for a while, because as I said, I didn't really like this movie that much, I was just lost, entirely lost. I didn't see what was going on. I don't understand what the concept and the idea behind this story was. I don't understand what the message was. If there was a message, it doesn't have to be a message. Can just be good old-fashioned spook fest. But even as a spook fest, I was so lost that I kind of was just taken out of it. I was just sitting there most of the time going, did that... What the fuck? And also, I know I praised Tillman Singer's direction earlier on in this review, but there were points when it seemed a little showy, like it went a little bit over the top with some of the weirdness and silliness at points. It was just like, yeah, okay, that's cool, but it just kind of feels like you're playing around with camera settings now, and it doesn't really seem that important. But, yeah. So, Cuckoo, look, I'm not going to say it's not worth watching, but I don't think it's particularly good. I've got to be honest. I just think it's full of a bunch of weird ideas that none of them really come together. It's such a mess. I have so many questions about it, but it's not interesting enough for me to want to know the answer to those questions. So, look, I don't know how to recommend this. All I'm going to say, from what you have heard from my review, if you think it sounds like it's something that's up your alley, it's worth watching. If it sounds like something that's too weird and is just going to piss you off and annoy you, it's not worth it. So Cuckoo, know who you are. Watch it if it sounds like it'll appeal to you. If you skip it because it doesn't sound like it's not going to appeal to you, you're not missing out on much. So that was my review / delirious ramble on Cuckoo. Let me know what you thought of this film in the comments. Like, share, and subscribe if you enjoyed this, and I will see you all later. Bye.